Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range with a new handgun. It's new to the market. I've had this one for about a month or so now, and it is a 1911. I love the 1911. I'm not one of those people that thinks it's archaic or a piece of junk, but it does have to be properly made. The handgun I have in this box is made by Dan Wesson. Dan Wesson was purchased by CZ some time ago, and Dan Wesson has always had a good name for quality. Well, their 1911s are of impeccable quality, in my opinion. They reach the level of perhaps an Ed Brown or something like that. They get very close to that level of craftsmanship. They're perfectly fit. The safeties on them are rock solid, and the fit and finish is just basically top notch, okay? But the price also reflects that. A semi-custom 1911 like an Ed Brown will cost you $2,500 or so, depending on the options. The MSRP on this new handgun that I have in the box is about $21.90. Now, it will sell for something less than that, probably closer to $2,000 or maybe a little less, but that's still quite a bit of money to pay for a handgun. Is it worth it? That's the question I always get, and worth is a subjective thing. I mean, to me, is it worth it? Absolutely, because if I were to go out and buy an Ed Brown, I'd pay more for it. If I was to go out and buy a Wilson Combat or a Nighthawk, I'm definitely going to pay more. The entry level to some of those is closer to $3,000. So what are you getting? Well, first of all, let's talk about the gun itself. This is a long slide 1911. This one is chambered in 10mm, and it's the new CZ/Dan Wesson Bruin. It's available in 45 ACP and 10mm, but me, I love 10mm. As a matter of fact, I made a video saying that not long ago. But this is the gun, man. This thing is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and clear it here. Make sure that it's empty. And if you take a look at some of the features of this pistol, you'll notice it has adjustable rear sight. It does have a tritium day glow front sight. Rear sight's adjustable for elevation and windage, so it is a target sight, but it looks something like a hybrid between a carry sight and a target sight, but it's definitely a target sight. Has a black finish on the upper half, and I have the bronze version here on the lower part of the frame. You can get them all black as well. Has its standard grip safety. It looks like custom grips. I'm not sure what the material is, maybe a G10 type material, but it has a nice long trigger. It has no ambi control, so you don't have a slide stop safety here, and you don't have a magazine release here. It's definitely set up for a right-handed shooter, but the fit and finish of this gun, the action, guys, I've owned Nighthawks, I've owned Ed Browns, I've owned Wilsons. This gun is every bit the quality, in my opinion, based on fit and finish. Just a beautifully made gun. Now, this one has a 6.3-inch barrel. Again, it's chambered in 10mm. And why do I like 10mm? 10mm rocks. You can push a 10mm well past the energy levels of things like 40 Smith & Wesson or even 45 ACP. It's a great cartridge for hunting. You can go out and knock pigs over with this thing all day long. You can get 200 grain slugs moving pretty quick, well over 1,000 feet per second. You can get some of the slugs like I have here, these Freedom munitions, which is a 185 grain round. This is what I'm shooting today. I'm sorry, 180 grain round. It's the XTP hollow point. You can get these bad boys up well over 1,000 feet per second. A lot of energy in these. Matter of fact, we'll put these over the chronograph and see what they're doing here in a little bit. But let's show you also what comes in the box. You'll get two 8-round magazines. Look like this. 10mm mags, obviously. The gun will come in here because of its 6-inch barrel. It's going to come all the way over to here. You will get a polymer barrel wrench, and you will need this to take the gun apart. And let me show you why. And then your instruction manual and your lock and all that other good stuff. It's a plastic case. Now, why will you need to take or use that takedown tool? Well, if you look at the front of the gun, it's not a traditional plunger assembly. Look how it's contoured and how it's angled. So that tool will be necessary to properly disassemble this handgun. We'll do that here in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and load up some magazines, do a little bit of shooting with the Bruin, and see how she does. You'll notice the stainless steel match barrel. You'll probably also be able to see the nice crown that's on it. It is marked match. This 6-inch barrel should give fairly good velocity. You'll also notice that it has front slide serrations if you like to use those. They're set far enough back where you're not going to get your hand in front of the muzzle if you want to use those serrations to run the gun for whatever reason. I'm a pincher. I like to operate my slides like that. Occasionally you'll see me go over the top, but my hands are so big, it's really kind of uncomfortable for me to grab a gun that way. That's safety. Every time I pick up a 1911, guys, the first thing I do is cock it and see how positive that safety is. If it's a mushy safety, I have zero interest in the gun. I really like a positive safety, and every single Dan Wesson I pick up has a very positive safety. Also, you'll notice that the slide stop on this has a nice long pronounced shelf, so it's easy to get to. It does have an enlarged beaver tail grip safety, and then a flat mainspring housing, and it looks like about 20 lines per inch checkering here on the front. All right, let's go ahead and lock her open. Again, we have some of the Freedom Munitions 10mm 180 grain XTP hollow points, and let's just see how this gun shoots. This is its first range session, guys. All right, let's go for that big plate right there. Nice. So the sights are spot on. There went one 8-round magazine. Grab another one. Recoil isn't bad, guys. It's actually pretty manageable. Waiting for that spinning target to come around. These 10mm hit pretty hard, man. Well, that's flawless function for the first two magazines. We'll put quite a few more rounds through it this afternoon. But initial impressions, it's just rock solid. The mass of that extra inch or so of barrel and slide really serves to tame the rather peppy 10mm round. I really like the way the gun feels. The serrations are good. It stays planted in your hand. The grips aren't super thin, but they feel good in my large hands. Overall, man, it's a 1911. It feels and shoots just like one, and I think the 1911 is easily one of the most ergonomic handguns on the market. I've actually seen people that are marginal shooters become very good shooters or pretty darn good shooters just by going to a 1911. A lot of that has to do with the ergonomics, and a lot of it has to do with the very nice trigger that many 1911s will have, much better than most striker-fired pistols right out of the box. All right, let's load up some more magazines. Keep shooting this bad boy. Well, my old friend the Texas Star is downrange about 15 yards or so. Let's see how well I do, see if I can avoid missing one. All right, so I got 3 rounds left. Not too bad. Let's do Mr. Spinny Target. Magazines, kind of have to strip them or wiggle the gun. Kind of a flat shot there. All right. Well, one miss out of all that, and I was shooting at a plate that was about like that to my line of sight. So, not too bad, man. This gun is really, really shootable. When we come out to the range, guys, we don't just bring one gun. I like to bring all sorts of guns, and I always like to bring a Msrp like this MAS-36. This rifle is chambered in 7.5 French, which looks like that. And it was the rifle that the French primarily used during the Second World War. It's obviously a bolt action. It's a very neat piece of history. If you guys would like to see more about this rifle, or some of the variations of it I have in my collection, or even the Model 49, which is a direct gas impingement semi-automatic that replaced it and actually served the French for some 30 years, even in Indochina, just comment down below and I can bring these guns out and tell you guys all about them. do a little bit of shooting with them. Definitely a neat piece of history. The trigger on this pistol has very little take-up and has 0 over travel and a nice, crisp, clean break. What it weighs, I'm guessing it's just under 5 pounds, but let's find out using my Lyman digital trigger pull scale here. All right. 4 pounds, 7 ounces. Let's reset that, cock it, and try it one more time. 4 pounds, 4 ounces. Almost 5 ounces. Every time I do it, it gets lighter. 4 pounds, 2 ounces. So I'm going to go ahead and call it about a 4-pound trigger pull. And that's beautiful for a gun like this, intended for what it's intended for, which is target shooting, maybe a little bit of hunting, stuff like that. So again, very little take up, very clean break, no over travel, and a 4-pound trigger pull. Pretty nice. Let's field strip this bad boy. Now you will need your disassembly tool, and I'll show you how to use this here in a second. Start off with making sure the gun's empty, no magazines in it, chamber's empty. All right, so it's pretty much like any other 1911, with the exception that you will definitely need a tool like this to get at that plunger. Most 1911s you can just do it with your thumb pressure alone. So you're going to push this down. It's a bushing wrench. Push it down and rotate the bushing to its disassembly notch. Let's try this one. Maybe this one will work better. Nope, definitely this one. See how it kind of turned it? All right, so it's broken that seal. Now, you're going to want to make sure you keep your finger over that plunger because that sucker's under spring pressure and it will go sailing. All right, there's the contoured plunger. And that'll be just like pretty much any other 1911. Push it back to its takedown notch. Push on the slide stop pin. Draw it out. This thing is very finely fit, so everything's very tight. So you're going to wiggle things. And then your slide stop pin comes out, and then the slide will just push off the frame. Pretty conventional 1911. You will notice that it's not a Series 80 gun, so there's no Schwartz safety in there. No plunger, no firing pin safety. Draw your spring and guide rod out. Push your drop link forward. Rotate your bushing to its takedown position, which is the opposite direction. Pull it off. Very tightly fit bushing. And then there's your match barrel. So as I said, it's pretty much a standard 1911, just a little bit tighter fit, and you will definitely need to use a disassembly tool that comes in the box. Let's get some velocity data on the Freedom Munitions 180 grain XTP rounds. We have the lab radar all set up here. This is a Doppler radar system. Works in the rain, works at night, does not require sunlight or anything else. These things are awesome, and they're only a little bit more expensive than something like a Magnetospeed. And we do have these things at Copper Custom. We're able to get our hands on a few of them. I'm going to go ahead and set it up. Red button means it's scanning, and let's see what this first round does. 1,114 feet per second. 1126. 1130, pretty good consistency. 1118. And 1132. So we're seeing well into the 1100 feet per second range with the 180 grain projectile out of the free munition stuff. So should give pretty good performance. Well guys, it's time to tie things up and head home. It looks like it's going to rain here in a few minutes. But I hope you enjoyed coming out to the range with me for my first range session with my new Dan Wesson Bruin 10mm 1911 pistol. The guns, again, about $2,200 MSRP. You should be able to find them a little bit less expensive than that, but keep in mind, Dan Wessons like this are in fairly high demand. Pretty much all CZ handguns are. And sometimes, if you want one, especially when they just release, you're going to have to pay a premium for them. But is the gun worth it? Again, that's subjective. To me it is, because, again, as I said previously in the video, it gets me the quality of something, very close to the quality, I should say, of something like an Ed Brown or a Nighthawk or a Wilson Combat, but still saves me around $1,000. And this thing, like I said, is pretty darn close to what you would find in a semi-custom 1911. Fit and finish is flawless, function is flawless, and it's just an absolutely beautiful gun. You can see the milling and the slide. I'm just drooling all over this thing. I really hope to get this thing out into the woods and do a little bit of hunting with it, maybe this fall or early next spring. You know, it all depends on how I travel to some of these hunts. If I drive, I can take all the guns in the world. If I fly, not so much. If you guys have any questions about anything you've seen in this video, you can ask those questions down below. I try to stick around for the first couple of days after a video goes live to answer the questions you guys may have. Also, please swing by and check out Copper Custom. If you'd like to support the Military Arms channel, that's the best possible way to do it. And if you haven't already, check out full30.com. That's full30.com. We've taken all the web's best firearms content creators and brought them under one roof. And again, that's full30.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon. Love it.